guys enjoying your pancakes?
Yes.
You know, one of the cool things that you can do with pancakes is talk a little bit about how rocks bend. Whenever you have continents coming together and collisions, burying rocks, it's extremely intense heat and pressure. And it actually can take a rock to behave a little bit less like a brittle thing and more like a ductile thing. And it'll actually fold and bend. You can use pancakes to kind of illustrate that, right? So I got 3 pancakes here stacked on top of each other. And if we bend them in certain directions, we can give them names. And that's how geologists name folds. So imagine I'm pushing on the sides and I'm bending the sides down, okay? So that I make kind of a dome with my layers of rock. We call that an anticline. And sometimes you can get folds that are bent down like this, where the sides come up and the middle goes down. We call that a syncline. And sometimes it just kind of bends in one direction like this. And we call that a monocline, right? So you name different folds. And if the fold, let's say we had an anticline, is like this, and sometimes maybe the continent will shift or the basin will shift and it'll fold the fold. We call that a plunging anticline or syncline. And what that tells structural geologists is something about the stresses and the strains that were on the rock at the time that the 2 plates were moving together, or the 2 bodies of rock or blocks of rock. We can kind of interpret the history of the pressure on the rocks. And that can tell us something about the events that led to the fold forming in the first place. Sometimes the forces within the earth aren't squeezing so much as they are pulling apart. You can get tensional forces, especially at divergent plate boundaries, where you've got 2 plates moving away from each other. So if we start to put a little tension on the pancakes here, we'll start to see them tear, and I'll give them a little bit of help, right? But these rocks will finally tear, and they'll move apart, okay? Just like if I tore this stack of pancakes. And sometimes as they tear, they'll actually move relative to each other, okay? And some might move down on one side, they might move up on one side. That boundary that we've created right there is called a fault. And if a fault moves down on one side, we call this the footwall, and this is the hanging wall of the fault. If the footwall moves down, we call it a normal fault. And if the footwall, my right hand, moves up and over, we call it a reverse fault. And if there's no offset at all, if it just slides this way, this is called a strike-slip fault. Many of the major earthquakes we have in North America are along the San Andreas Fault in California. It's a classic example of a major strike-slip fault. So giant pancakes under the city of Los Angeles are one day going to destroy it.